Hello, I'm Steve Weber, the host of Essential Book Drop. We're running through today's 3 must-reads, the books you have to read today. Because we'll be back tomorrow with 3 more new releases that you'll need to read on Saturday. So don't fall behind. Your nightstand will get really heavy. It might tip over. It might fall on your dog or cat. Then you have to rush to the ER of the veterinary clinic, and that will just cramp your weekend. So let's keep up to date. As always, I'm joined by my co-host and bookworm sidekick. Good to have you here.
Hey there. Good to be here.
So, anything fun planned for the weekend?
I'm hoping something will come up. How about you?
Oh, I don't know. Probably do some reading, maybe watch some Antiques Roadshow. I might stay up late tonight, then sleep in. Maybe on Saturday, I'll watch a little football, drink a couple of beers,
That sounds really fun. Sounds like a plan.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our deep dive today is focused on these 3 sources that offer, well, really fascinating case studies in power, media, and principle. For you, the listener, we're cutting right to the core of what makes these stories relevant right now.
Exactly. These books give us these amazing snapshots of transformation. Whether it's political guts from like 120 years back or someone literally risking everything for human rights today, we're pulling out those core lessons, the stuff that really matters for you right now.
Okay, let's dive in. First up, Book 1. It's a look at a real American original, To Rescue the American Spirit, the biography of Teddy Roosevelt by Bret Baier. And what hits you right away is just the sheer range of the man. I mean, the sources show he was a cowboy, a cop, a war hero, a naturalist all before hitting the presidency at, 42?
Yeah, it wasn't just collecting jobs, was it? It feels like he was deliberately forging this character, this kind of rugged authenticity.
Right. And why? That's the interesting part the book gets into.
Well, think about it. He came from this, very established New York family, the aristocracy, but he intentionally ditched that path. He went west, looking for something real. A different code, maybe. Trying to build this brand of principle before branding was even a thing, a contrast to all that Gilded Age corruption.
That's the key takeaway, I think.
Yeah.
He didn't just talk about fighting corruption. He used that slightly unconventional background to actually push for, pretty radical change back then.
As a state legislator, he went right after the whole patronage system. But the really vivid stuff, the sources say, was when he was NYC police commissioner.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic.
Right. He wasn't just, sitting behind a desk. He used public spectacle. He'd literally walk the streets at night, undercover sometimes, just to check on his officers, expose laziness. It wasn't just about good management. It was performance. It got the public on his side.
And the press loved it.
Exactly. He turned the press into his, ultimate tool against the political machine, which, let's be honest, couldn't stand him.
So he basically mastered using public opinion against the powerful institutions. And the book argues that really defined his presidency, too. And here's something really telling. Walter Isaacson, the guy who wrote about Franklin, Einstein, Steve Jobs.
Few names.
Right. He endorses this book, saying TR's progressive moves have direct lessons for today.
Yeah, and you can see why. His impact was huge, both globally and at home. I mean, establishing the U.S. as a superpower, the Panama Canal, brokering peace between Russia and Japan, world-changing stuff.
Then domestically.
A really energetic, progressive agenda took on the big corporations, the trusts. That's where he got the Trust Buster nickname.
So connecting the dots here, the argument is that Roosevelt's real legacy isn't just the list of accomplishments. It's showing that a leader could actually take on corruption, take on big money interests by appealing directly to the public's desire for, authenticity.
And that willingness to challenge the elites. That still resonates. You definitely see parallels to political frustrations today. Makes the story feel very timely.
Okay, so let's shift gears. We're moving from transforming political power back then, which meant kind of rejecting the aristocracy, to transforming media power today, which also seems to mean rejecting the old ways. Let's talk Book 2, Cancel Me If You Can, by Dave Portnoy, the founder of Barstool Sports.
Right, and this is a really important case study if you're interested in modern media or building a brand. The start was super humble, 2004, just a little 4-page paper he handed out himself in Boston, like a local sports gossip sheet, really.
But the genius was the pivot, wasn't it? He saw an opening. Portnoy figured out that traditional sports media was kind of sanitized.
Yeah.
A bit boring, maybe.
Yeah, definitely playing it safe.
And he went straight for this huge audience of fans who wanted something raw, unapologetic, like stuff you'd actually hear people saying in a sports bar.
He basically monetized the locker room talk, the fan perspective. That was the core idea.
And the strategy that grew out of that was Well, you could call it calculated authenticity, embracing the messiness.
Absolutely. And the growth is just,
Yeah.
wow, from that little paper to a nine-figure company. Over 300 employees, 150 different brands under the umbrella.
It shows it's way more than just a popular blog, right? It's a sophisticated business model, direct to consumer.
hmm And things like the pizza reviews, one bite, everyone knows the rules. They seem like just fun viral bits, but they're actually smart brand building. They reinforce that central, unfiltered personality across different verticals. It all feeds back into the main Barstool identity.
But that uncultured approach obviously creates a lot of friction.
Mm.
The book makes it clear Portnoy's stance is basically he doesn't care if half the internet hates him.
As long as the other half is super engaged and loyal.
Exactly. He argues he survived years of attempts to, cancel him by just leaning into it, doubling down instead of doing the usual corporate apology tour.
It raises a question, though, doesn't it? For you, the learner thinking about this, is relying on outrage sustainable long term? Usually that kind of thing burns out. But Barstool seems to have made resilience, like part of the brand itself. They actually use the attempts to shut them down as content, fuel for their base.
That's precisely how the source frames it, as a deliberate strategy. They show that, yeah, the controversy makes noise, but the company's success comes from turning that noise into actual commerce, into loyalty. They're not trying to please everybody. They're super focused on their specific tribe. It's undeniably a successful model in that sense.
And you got to mention the other side, too, which the book details, like the Barstool Fund during COVID.
Right, raising tens of millions for small businesses that were struggling shows the platform has enormous power for good, too, when it wants to use it.
So, yeah, whether you agree with the tone or not, the business lesson is pretty stark. This kind of calculated authenticity plus sheer resilience against cancellation attempts. These can be incredibly valuable assets today, build massive loyalty.
Okay, that takes us nicely into our third book, Book 3. This one shifts focus dramatically from, media power and wealth to pure principle and just extraordinary personal sacrifice. It's In the Name of Freedom by Enes Kanter Freedom.
And what's just staggering here is the sheer cost of his activism. He starts out as Enes Kanter, right? Pro basketball player in the NBA. But when he starts speaking out against the Erdogan regime in Turkey, the authoritarian government there, bam, declared an enemy of the state.
It wasn't like choosing between posting something online or not. This was, life and death stakes almost.
Yeah.
Freedom versus tyranny.
And the consequences, which he details really vividly in the memoir, were absolutely brutal and immediate. We're talking real-world impact. His dad, still in Turkey, a professor, arrested, labeled a terrorist.
It's devastating.
And Enes Kanter, his Turkish passport gets revoked. Suddenly, she's stateless while he's playing in the NBA. That's a level of sacrifice, of risk, you just don't see often, especially from athletes.
He clearly realized this fight, the human rights fight, was bigger than his basketball career. He didn't just tweet about it. He legally changed his name to Enes Kanter Freedom, knowing full well it could and likely would cost him his livelihood.
Yeah, the source material is pretty clear that as his activism got louder and more high profile, his NBA career went downhill. He essentially traded his spot in the league for his principles.
And crucially, he wasn't just criticizing regimes far away. He showed real courage inside the system he was part of. He publicly, very specifically, called out the NBA itself, pointed out how they seemed to be turning a blind eye to China's persecution of the Uyghur people.
Which is, let's face it, a huge commercial sensitivity for the league. China's a massive market.
Exactly. And that's where you really see that clash between global commerce and human rights principles laid bare.
He even called out LeBron James, probably the biggest sports star on the planet.
Yep. Over his Nike deals, pointing to the use of Chinese labor while China was cracking down hard on freedoms in Hong Kong.
Wow. That willingness to critique the biggest players, the biggest organizations, without hedging, without worrying about the commercial fallout, that's why he got nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
That nomination really validates it, doesn't it? Shows this is serious global activism, not just some sports world spat.
Definitely.
So it really makes you ask that tough question. How far are people really willing to go for what they believe in? What happens when global business interests slam right into human rights? This memoir gives a pretty stark answer. Sometimes the price of genuine principle is, well, everything. Your job, your family connections, even your nationality. It shows those devastating consequences when geopolitics meets sports stardom. Well, thanks for joining us today. And remember, if you want to download any of the books we've mentioned today for free from Amazon, visit us at bookcheapskate.nalom, and you'll have all the links right there. But do it now. These books are free. That website I referred to just about 10 minutes ago. Every morning, it's all brand new. We'll definitely do this again tomorrow.
Sounds great. See you then.
Until then, keep on opening new worlds with great new books. Because if you're not reading every day, your life is probably not on full tilt. And whatever you do, remember this. When you read,
Your mind becomes its own kingdom.
and think about this, the common thread running through these three really different figures, Teddy Roosevelt, the political reformer, Dave Portnoy, the media guy, and his Cantor Freedom, the activist, it seems to be this willingness to operate outside the established systems to find authenticity or force change. Whether it was Roosevelt ditching the New York political elite, Portnoy rejecting the rules of old-school sports media, or Cantor Freedom sacrificing his place within the NBA's global business machine. Maybe truly disruptive impact, the kind that really shakes things up, often requires stepping off that expected path and just dealing with the friction that comes with it. Something to consider.